Hi there, welcome to the final part of the Facebook for Business blog series I've been doing. I just want to finish with a short summary of each of the different options that businesses have on Facebook in terms of going for a personal profile, a group or a page, and then just finishing with what sort of businesses should be looking to use each of those options. The first thing I want to say is apologies for the state of me. I've had relentless hay fever for about 3 months now, so I look in a bit of a constant state of a bit of an emotional wreck. But I promise it's just the pollen. Actually, before we go any further, I know I always say this, but I think it's a really important point. Before you even start contemplating which of these 3 options you choose on Facebook, you first of all need to decide, actually, is Facebook for you? Because so many businesses waste so much time on Facebook when they just don't really belong there. Are you business to consumer? Is that where your target audience is really active? But anyway, I'm assuming you've done all the research with that, and that you know you need to develop a presence on Facebook. So let's get going. Well, the first thing is direct mail. So this is the ability to send messages, personal messages, into the inboxes of the recipients. Now, it's something that you can of course do with a personal profile. It's also something that you can do with groups. It isn't something you can do with pages. Now, arguably, this puts pages at a bit of a disadvantage because you can't have that really sort of personal communication. But what I would say is actually just be a bit careful with sending this kind of mail from a personal profile or from a group to your members, because actually the fact that it is such a personal form of communication means that if you kind of take liberties with it and you do too much of it, or it's the wrong kind of communication, then you could really irritate people. So just use it selectively. The next thing to say is privacy. Now, this probably isn't a big concern for many organisations, but if you're a public body or maybe a charity, perhaps you work with children, then actually it can be a real concern. I know a few organisations that are really, really keen to have a strong presence on Facebook. They want to take advantage of all the opportunities that it has, but they're keen to do it in a very controlled manner. They don't want everyone having visibility of that presence, particularly of images and that sort of thing. Now, with personal profiles and groups, you can remove yourself from the results pages, from the search results. You can't do that with pages. So that could be quite a big barrier for you potentially. The next point is vanity URLs. So what we mean here is the ability to actually create a URL that is specific to your business. So it might be that if you're, I don't know, let's say you're called Frank and you run a bakery, you want to have facebook.com/Frank's Bakery. You might think that from a branding point of view that looks more professional. It also has certain advantages from an SEO point of view because you can include keywords in that URL. So it does put you at a bit of an advantage. Now, you can do that with pages. You can actually also do that with your personal profile. You can't do that with groups. You're just given a random series of ugly sort of numbers and letters. So, it's not ideal. The next point, newsfeed updates. So this is when you, let's say for example, with your page or your personal profile or indeed groups, when you're interacting, when you have a status update, that activity can then appear on the news page of people who you're connected to. Now, actually, it happens with all 3 now, so there's not really an advantage to be had with one over another. But again, I would just say use that functionality quite selectively, because if you're constantly updating your status and actually it's not that interesting, or it isn't, it's got to be sort of interesting, funny, thought-provoking. It's got to do something. If it's just inane commenting, well, actually, you're invading people's very kind of personal space there. They're not going to appreciate it, and you're not going to sustain that relationship basically. So use it wisely. Now, this is where pages really come into their own. Customization, the ability to basically make your page whatever you want it to be. So you can do pretty much anything on a page, on a Facebook page, that you could do on a website. So that might be email capture, it might be video, it could be a full e-commerce shop. Now, for a certain kind of business, this is really attractive. It makes the whole experience much more interesting, much more professional. It is not something that you can do with a group or a personal profile where you're basically just restricted to images and text. Now, following on from that, you can actually, with a page, you can then hide content. So you can, and of course you can hide content with a personal profile or with a group, but it's not really what I'm getting at. I mean, you can hide, you know, a wall or you can hide images to people that you're not connected with. But what I'm talking about here is actually the ability to hide content that you've customized. So I'll illustrate it with an example. Maybe you're a business that says, I don't know, maybe you sell cakes and you want to give a 20% discount to anyone who's a fan of your page on Facebook, right? So it's very simple. What you could do is you could say, become a fan, and you'll then receive this discount voucher that you can use at our cake shop. Sorry, it's a ridiculous example, but hopefully illustrates the point. Now, that isn't something you would be able to do through a group or a personal profile, so you could actually have it so people land on this page, they're immediately presented with that information, they become a fan, suddenly new content appears, maybe it's a way of capturing their email address as well, you can have some sort of data capture form there, so there's just so much more you can do with it. Whereas with a group, with a personal profile, it really is very, very restricted. Insights, Facebook Insights. Now what these are, very similar to Google Analytics, it's basically providing you with interesting data, useful data about user activity. It's only something you have with a page, you don't have it with a personal profile or with a group. So it'll tell you how many people have visited your page, how many people liked your page on a particular day, how many unliked it. Let's give you an interesting example here. Nick, a couple of months ago, being the friendly chap he is, he used one of our bigger fan pages to send out an Easter greetings message to all the fans, and there were tens of thousands. It was quite a big page, and as you'd expect, there was a bit of a flurry of activity. We got a few new fans of the page in the minutes that followed. We also lost about 200 fans, so that was quite an interesting lesson that we were able to learn from because of the Facebook Insights. So I'm not really too sure what the lesson was there, but there we go. It was certainly interesting data. Finally, and this is another really, really important point, promo buttons, promotional buttons. So, of course, your target audience isn't restricted. Even if Facebook is ideal for you, that isn't the only place where your target audience is going to be. And the ability to actually to sort of cast your net much wider than that is really, really powerful. And this is something you can, again, only do with pages. You can actually embed your like button onto your website, onto your blog. So it just allows you you're not just restricted to Facebook in order to increase your fan base. So that's something that, again, is really, really powerful. Now, hopefully, before we get on to what sort of organisation should be looking to use each one of these, hopefully you've noticed a bit of a trend developing here. And that trend is that it's only, in fact, pages that allow you to outwardly market to your target audience. And there's a very simple reason for that. It wasn't the purpose of a personal profile, it wasn't the purpose of a group. Pages are the only one that have actually been designed by Facebook with business in mind. So when you actually look at this and you run down through it, you can actually see that really it's only pages that not only have been developed to enable you to sort of proactively go after your target audience, but also it's the only one that gives you the resulting data from that activity. So what I would say is, unless you tick certain boxes, unless maybe, for example, your business, maybe you're the face of the brand, and maybe you're reliant on very personal relationships, in which case a personal profile could be appropriate. Unless that's the case, you can probably steer clear of personal profiles. And likewise with groups, it might be that actually maybe you're a social enterprise or a charity, and you're looking to take an existing community of people where there's very sort of intimate relationships. It's a very sort of insular community. If that is the case, if that does sound relevant to you, then it might be that indeed groups are something you should dabble with. But to be honest, for 95% of businesses, it begins and ends with pages. The functionality offered by pages over the other two is just, it's just so vastly superior. And I suspect that in the months and years to come, that gulf is only going to increase. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. If you have any queries or comments, or maybe in fact you totally disagree and you think actually, you know, you could put a slightly different angle on this, and maybe there are other opportunities for businesses away from pages, then I'd love to hear those thoughts. Okay, cheers, thank you.